You ever been stuck, facing a decision, and it just feels impossible to know what the right thing to do is? Yeah, that feeling, it seems to be everywhere these days. So today, we're going to dig into some timeless wisdom and actually build a practical toolkit you can use to navigate this crazy, complex world we're living in.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question that, really gets to the heart of the matter. You'd think it would be simple, but the truth is most of us really struggle with this. And the real issue? It might not be that we don't want to do good, it's something else entirely.
And this quote right here, it presents such a fascinating idea. It's suggesting that, for a lot of us, it's not that we're actively choosing to be bad people. We're just confused, genuinely confused. We want to do the right thing, but in so many situations today, we're just not sure what that even is anymore.
Okay, so if confusion is the real problem, then the next logical question has to be, why? Right? Why is doing the right thing suddenly so complicated? Why does it feel like we're all wandering through this moral maze?
Well, it seems to boil down to two huge factors. First, our world is just changing at a dizzying speed. Think about it, the old rules, the old codes, they just don't always fit these new situations we're facing with technology, at work, even in our own families. And second, we're living in this totally cosmopolitan world. We're bombarded with competing ideas of what's right, and honestly, it can be completely overwhelming.
And all of this leads to a really crucial point, and maybe a challenging one for some of us. If you've ever thought to yourself, I'll just follow my conscience, you need to hear this. The argument here is that our conscience, well, it's not enough. It's not a foolproof guide. I mean, history is full of people who did awful things while truly believing they were in the right. Your conscience might tell you to do what's right, but it doesn't always tell you what is right. There's a huge difference.
So, if our conscience isn't the final answer, then what are we supposed to do? Well, this is where things get super practical. We're going to get a toolkit, a set of 6 what are called homely guideposts. Think of them as simple but really powerful tests to help bring some clarity when we're stuck.
And here they are, the whole toolkit laid out for us. You can literally think of this as your new ethical checklist. We're going to walk through every single one, and I promise, by the end of this, you'll have this solid framework you can use for pretty much any moral dilemma. Let's kick it off with number 1, the test of common sense.
Okay, this first one is so simple, it's actually kind of brilliant. Before you get all tangled up in deep, complex moral arguments, just take a step back and ask yourself, is this whole thing just silly? You know, it's pointed out that some of the worst ideas in history, like dueling with pistols at dawn, they weren't ended by some grand philosophical debate. They were just laughed out of existence. Sometimes, the best moral compass is just asking, am I being ridiculous right now?
Next up, guidepost number 2, the test of sportsmanship. And this one is all about fairness. Are you trying to get a special advantage for yourself, bending the rules in a way you wouldn't want anyone else to? Or are you playing by rules that are fair and equal for everybody? It's really about applying that sense of fairness we understand from sports to the much bigger game of life.
Yeah, this whole idea really boils down to one powerful question. What would happen if everybody did what you're about to do? I mean, seriously, if you cut in line, what if everyone did? If you fudge your taxes, what if everyone did? The world would be chaos, right? This test forces us to look beyond just ourselves. It's basically the golden rule, just framed in a really practical way.
All right, our third test is a bit more internal. It's about checking in with the deepest part of yourself. The part that isn't just reacting out of anger or greed or just plain laziness. You know how we all have different selves, right? There's the tired after work self, the hangry self, the I want that now self. This test is about asking your best self what it thinks. It's that quiet inner voice that really knows the difference between what feels good for a second and what's genuinely good in the long run.
Now this next one, this one is incredibly powerful. It's the test of publicity. All you have to do is ask yourself, how would I feel if what I'm doing was plastered on the front page of the news tomorrow? What if my family, my friends, my coworkers, what if they all knew? Look, secrecy is almost always a huge red flag that you're on the wrong track.
And this quote from Phillips Brooks, man, it just captures the idea perfectly. Living a life where you don't have to hide anything, that's the goal. The second you start having to conceal things, or you're afraid someone's going to ask you a certain question, that's when life loses its shine. As they say, things that can't survive in the sunlight probably aren't very healthy to begin with.
Okay, our 5th test uses someone you admire as your moral compass. So right now, think of the person you respect the most. It could be anyone, a mentor, a parent, a historical figure you look up to. Got someone? Okay. Now imagine you had to explain your decision to them. Would they get it? Would they approve? Would they do it? It's amazing how this one simple exercise can cut through the noise because it taps into the very best version of ourselves that we're trying to be.
And that brings us to our sixth and final guidepost, the test of foresight. This is all about playing chess, not checkers. It's about looking past the immediate gratification and asking, where does this path actually end up? What are the long-term consequences here? Every single choice we make is like the opening move in a chess game. And as any chess player knows, that first move can decide the entire outcome of the game.
Here is such a powerful way to think about this. Every man who picks up one end of a stick picks up the other. You can't just choose an action without also choosing its consequences. They're attached. When you grab one end of that stick, the choice, you are, whether you like it or not, also grabbing the other end, the result. So foresight is just about having the wisdom to look at the entire stick before you even think about picking it up.
So there you have it. That's the whole toolkit. 6 really powerful but also super practical guideposts. Before we wrap up, let's just do a quick recap to really lock this in, so you can put it to work the very next time you're stuck on a tough decision.
Here it is, your 6-point checklist. Next time you're feeling unsure, just run through this list. 1, is it common sense? 2, is it good sportsmanship? 3, would my best self approve? 4, could it stand the test of publicity? 5, is this something my hero would do? And finally, 6, what are the long-term results? And why does this all matter so much? Because the whole point is to live a life of intention, a life with clarity. It's about avoiding that awful, sinking feeling of looking back and realizing you made bad choices. Not because you were a bad person, but just because you were confused. This whole toolkit is designed to stop that from happening. And that really brings us to the most important part. We've laid out all the tools for you, but the real work, that starts now, when you actually use them. So as you go about the rest of your day, think about a decision you might be facing. It could be something big or something small. The question is, which one of these guideposts are you going to use first?